Look, here's the deal. I love Pokemon Legends Arceus a lot. It's been such a breath of fresh air to a series that's been in need of a revamp for a very long time now. I love the story, the environments, the theming, but to love something is to also be critical towards it. In this video, I'm gonna say a lot of things about this game, and not all of it is nice. But we're all going to be very normal about it in the comments, right? Can I trust you to do that? Please, I see you. I see you pre-typing that. Stop it. I like this game. It just sucks sometimes. This last week, I participated in Shiny Alpha Week, an event hosted by the Miss L with the goal to, well, get shiny alpha Pokemon in the span of a week. It's right there in the name. But I had another goal on top of that. By the end of this week, I want a box full of shiny Pokemon. I want at least 30 shiny Pokemon in this PC box by the end of the week. This'll end well. My favorite way to hunt alpha Pokemon is by flying around the map looking for static spawns like Infernape on Romanus Islands or the Electivire on top of Mount Coronet. And if you know literally anything about these games, you'll know just how many other encounters you can get by doing that. Now, let's set some ground rules. I'm not limiting myself to any specific set of rules, any shiny hunting methods, any items, or any Pokemon I want to use. It's pretty open-ended. My goal is to simply get as many shiny Pokemon as I can from February 14th to February 23rd, and ideally make some of those alpha Pokemon. My Legends save file has a complete Pokedex with completed research for everything, which means my base odds will be 1 in 820, 1 in 240 for massive mouse outbreaks, and 1 in 137 for mass outbreaks. Don't expect any crazy no shiny charm shenanigans this time. I actually like this game enough to complete it, and now I've just made all 4 Pokemon Sword and Shield fans angry. Like I said before, my main method for finding alphas is just going to be flying around looking for the static ones, but I feel like I owe it to the challenge to at least try some permutations in massive mass outbreaks, a method that I have never tried before. But as you will all soon know in potentially way too much detail very soon, we'll just say my luck was hit or miss. Or miss, and miss, and miss, and miss, and miss some more, and miss. Let's get into the action before I think too hard about what happened.
What'd he say?
I started hunting officially on the first day of the event around 5 p.m. local time. I have no idea what to really expect since I haven't done a ton of real shiny hunting in these games yet. But I've been pretty lucky in these games in the past. How hard could it be? How hard could this be? Is there a god listening? Does he care? Originally, I had planned on finding at least 1 shiny alpha per section, but ultimately, I decided that this was a stupid idea. At the very least, I did want to find my first Shalfa in the Fieldlands, though. It just felt right. There's a lot of awesome choices here. There's the iconic Rapidash that everybody sees on their first day of playing, Heracross right next to it, Blissey up the way a little bit, Alpha Stantler would mean Alpha Weirdeer. I had 3 wants for this part of the map. Scyther up by Grand Tree Arena turning into a nice Alpha Cleavor or Scizor would be cool, but let's be honest, you want Scizor. Infernape is about as cool as it gets, and the Snorlax on your way to Sandgem Flats would make an awesome first Shalfa. So, what did I find today? A rock. A rock. Which to me only really brings me closer to the goal. After getting my bearings and figuring out a path to see all of the static alphas on the map, I ended my day with just Geodude and picked it back up the next day. I started off with a set of massive mass outbreaks in the Coastlands, and by a set, I actually just mean burn and ball. I really wanted to get something on the board, so at the moment, I'm ignoring anything that doesn't have the gold star guaranteeing a second phase. At some point, I'll get to explaining why this all matters and why you need a second phase with MMOs, but considering the second phases I did get for these, now is unfortunately not that time.
Back to the Fieldlands with ye!
But luckily for me, today wasn't all bad. Two shinies down, and 28 to go. We're gonna be here for a while. I went to go chase another massive mass outbreak event in the Mirelands and had some very familiar results, all the way down to finding a shiny I wasn't even looking for. Surely one of these shiny Pokemon will be an alpha eventually. Yesterday was productive. Sure, I caught 3 shiny Pokemon and I got really good at my route through the Fieldlands, but I need a banger today. I'm 3 days into this event and I don't even have a single shiny alpha Pokemon. I'm not even on the board. Literally any of these Pokemon in Shalpha form would be awesome. Like, I'd even take Alpha Floatzel. I hate Floatzel. So with all that being said, I have a question for you. Do you want to see something really cool? Shiny Alpha Infernape puts us on the board and brings us a 1/6 of the way to being done with this challenge. Now, this was my only shiny of the day, but to be honest, that's totally fine by me. There is basically nothing I would have rather seen. Now I can move on to the next phase of the static hunt. The Mirelands has a lot of really cool static spawns, and also Onyx.
Mid-Pokemon alert!
As far as Pokemon of interest go, the Alpha Tortterra is a very obvious target while flying through the Mirelands. We'll be getting back to him very soon. And one I was really hoping to see sometime this week, the Alpha Pachirisu near Gapejaw Bog. Pachirisu is such a funny Pokemon to have a static alpha spawn, so getting a shiny one would be fantastic. And I'm leaving out a bunch of other incredible options too, but we don't have all day, so let's get right into... Oh. Alright, well, as I was saying, I spent my morning getting used to a flight path to see all of the static spawns in the Mirelands, and then immediately got distracted by a mass outbreak in the coastlands. Yes, my goal is to ultimately find a static alpha in the Mirelands, but at this point in the hunt, I'm taking every opportunity I can to get a permutation hunt started. So I saw, and failed, Hisuian Growlithe, Krogunk, Pachirisu, and an Abra outbreak, so it's not looking too good. Despite going 0 for 10 in MMOs, my efforts were rewarded in some capacity. Shiny Luxio brings us to 7 total shinies and almost a third of the way through this challenge. Let's talk numbers. Crunch them, maybe, if you're interested in that. I've alluded to it previously, but there are some stats attached to massive mass outbreaks that you should probably know. Every time one of these spawns, 76% of them will be standard single-phase outbreaks. 8.5% will give you a guava berries for your efforts. But what we're interested in today is these outbreaks marked with a gold star. These outbreaks have a 100% chance to spawn a second wave. These second waves have a combined 19% chance to be alpha Pokemon of the same species or of the evolution of that species. Now, you can, at a rate of 12%, get a second wave from an outbreak not otherwise marked by a star or a berry. But since it's not guaranteed, I will only be checking these if it's a Pokemon I really want. So, after spending my afternoon checking on MMOs, I found this one. A Heracross outbreak with a second wave in the Highlands. Now, this would be an excellent first permutation to try and... So, I got distracted because there was already a shiny Heracross in the first wave, and I just left. Anyway, after finding the Gummy Bear album in stores on November 13th, I found my real first successful second wave, a Hisuian Zoroa outbreak in the Fieldlands. During a massive mass outbreak, you can see anywhere from 8 to 10 Pokemon during the first wave. And the second wave of Pokemon is actually dependent on what order you catch or knock out these first wave Pokemon. Using this handy tool at Rotom Labs, we can keep track of the order in which we knock these Pokemon out or catch them. Now, there are a lot of resources going into further detail about how this works, and if I'm being honest, I don't know everything about permutations. And we're really kind of dragging our feet here, so I'm going to summarize this in one sentence. We did not get a shiny Alpha Zorua. Now, I don't know exactly how many distinct Alpha Zorua I saw, but I'm pretty sure it's very likely to not see a shiny from only 25 permutations, so that was about an hour and a half of tedious number managing with absolutely no results. So let me get this straight. Actively trying to find a shiny Alpha Pokemon gives me nothing, but just flying around aimlessly nets me the coolest possible shiny Alphas? So yes, that looks to be entirely true. So after yesterday's blunder, I managed to save face and find a shiny Alpha Empoleon by complete accident. I was just headed over to this Chansey outbreak. This puts us 1/3 of the way through this challenge at 10 shinies total, 2 of those being shiny Alphas. And I'm sure you all are seeing the elephant in the room at this moment. Naturally, what would follow an Infernape and an Empoleon? Well, a Golbat. Obviously, what'd you think I was gonna say? Everybody knows the starters from Sinnoh go Monkey, Penguin, and Bat! Regardless, Wednesday would mark both the halfway point of the challenge and the most productive day by far, increasing our shinies from 9 to 17, almost 2/3 of the way done. But even despite this incredible progress, the best is still ahead of us. Another idea I had in the back of my head for this challenge was how funny it would be to get an entire evolutionary line of shiny Pokemon. Now, obviously a few of my shinies so far are just single stage Pokemon, but I figured 2 or 3 of my hypothetical 30 should be related, right? More on that later, but for now, I'm on a mission. We have to get Tortterra, the aforementioned elephant in the room. It would be incredible to round off the Sinnoh starters during this challenge, but from what I've been experiencing, it won't be easy. Of all the static Pokemon I'm checking, every single one is just as likely to be shiny as any other, so it's probably pretty unlikely for this to work in my favor like I want it to. So after finding a quick Parasect as a treat and getting actively taunted by the game, I knew I had to make a change. We are putting all of our chips down on Tortterra. If you spawn from the bog-bound camp in the Mirelands, all you have to do is fly straight south, see Tortterra, and leave. The only potential phase is the Alpha Hippowdon right outside of camp and every other regular Pokemon on the way there. So I'm sure you already can guess how this ends. I mean, if you squint a little. I know I sound upset, but finding any shiny Alpha is obviously cool, and our end goal is to have as many as I can get. Oh, and I also found another Geodude. Might happen again, might not, we'll see. I felt like at this point I needed to beat the do-nothing allegations and find a shiny Alpha and a permutation finally. I'm not really that picky, so I decided to choose, yeah, we'll do Carnivine, that's fine. I figured this would probably take a while considering how unlucky I had been with the Zorua outbreak, so I got comfy and whatever. Part of me is like, wow, I'm getting really lucky with some of these. Somebody is definitely going to ask about the mod folder. And to that I say, well, look at this shiny Gengar I got, first of all. And secondly, I still need to find Tortterra. Now, I've been searching for a good Grotle outbreak this entire time, just in case the static Tortterra never shined, and after about a day and a half of looking, I found this one. It is only 8 Pokemon deep, so unfortunately, our odds are just as bad as they were with Zorua. So let me just look at my notes here and, oh. So we didn't find it. I went through about 3-ish hours of permutations for Tortterra, and I didn't find a shiny. That's not necessarily the issue. My issue is how tedious and annoying permutations can be, especially with these types of Pokemon. Pokemon like Grotle, Pikachu, and some other starter Pokemon fall into what I can only find described as the curious or neutral Pokemon category. Go figure, there's barely any info on this. These Pokemon do not aggro on you until you provoke them or other Pokemon near them. Now, obviously in concept, this doesn't sound like a big deal. Like, why am I whining about it? Well, these curious Pokemon will not multi-battle you unless they're actively attacking you or you stun them. Multi-battles are integral to the mechanics of permutations. Sometimes you need to have 4 Pokemon in a single battle to achieve a desired result, which isn't impossible, but it is insanely difficult with a Pokemon that just doesn't sit still like Grotle does. So on a particularly difficult permutation, it can take several tries to herd your cattle close enough to stun them and initiate a battle. And that's all assuming you don't accidentally hit just one of them, or if there's an item on the ground that your Pokemon targets first. Only to do this 25 times or more, just to get absolutely nothing. I didn't even get to see any of the really nasty outbreaks with 100+ permutations. And I know full well that these permutations probably weren't designed to be manipulated like this. I feel like maybe it would have just been convenient for the developers to design them like this, and I'm not even going to pretend I know whether that's true or not. But what I can say is this is really annoying, especially when you fail, which is something I've done a lot for this challenge. And I just really feel like there was some better way they could have picked to make this all work. So, what does this mean for the challenge? Well, there are a couple more shinies for us to get and more alphas, but unfortunately, and for the sake of transparency, no. Tortterra is not one of those Pokemon. I guess we'll just have to pretend this Grotle is twice as big and also evolved and also an alpha. We've got one last day. Let's make it count. I'm not going out on a failed set of permutations like that. I have to end on a high note. At least one more shiny alpha is the goal, on top of the 2 total more shinies I need to fill out this box. I spent my morning hunting for more outbreaks of aggressive Pokemon that are much easier to herd, or outbreaks I know I wouldn't be permutating. I saw a bunch, and suffice it to say, I failed a lot of them too. But that's when I was given a sign, almost as if a message direct from Arceus himself. I found another Geodude. We have 3 Geodude. We have 3 of them. 29 shiny Pokemon, which leaves space for 1 more Pokemon. What could it be? A 4th Geodude? Maybe another shiny alpha? Is it a 5th Geodude? On top of the 25 other shinies I got for this video, I'm pretty satisfied with the shiny alphas I got. The fact that I got even 2 starter Pokemon is wildly lucky, and I'm very fond of the other 3 as well. We got some really good regular shiny Pokemon, I finished 2 evolutionary lines, got 3 entire Geodude. How? And while I never got to claim all 3 starters, this absolutely keeps the door wide open for a challenge involving shiny alphas in the future. And I've already returned after filming to reclaim Zorua for another event. Look, Redemption.